Why are they still be in their hood when they are my ops, bro? Like, people were already in America before white people even came here. And they really went there and said, yeah, let's just go there and off everybody and take this land for ourselves. That's really crazy when you think about it, bro.
Blackfeet in
What is good, YouTube? It's the Buff Shaman React here. And today we got a video by Serious History. And it is titled... Boom! It is titled People Who Refuse to Die in History. So without further ado, let us get straight into the video.
Today we're going over extreme survival stories of people who refused to die.
Okay.
John Colter.
John
It's 1809,
Colter.
And frontiersman John Colter and his friend John Potts are paddling a canoe up the Jefferson River. The two men are hunting for beaver pelts on this expedition, and they both know that they have just crossed into some very dangerous territory.
They did?
Just a few years earlier, Colter was part of the legendary Lewis and Clark expedition that mapped the previously unexplored American West. While traveling in what is now Montana, the party had some not-so-friendly encounters with the native...
Being like an American gotta be like the shittiest thing back then, bro. Like, just running into an American, bro. Imagine you explore a piece of land, right? And then some nigga named John and fucking Duke of fucking bullshittery, right? They go there and they discover the land that you already live on. That's fucking crazy, bro. When you really think about it, that's some weird shit for real. These colonizers were just lazy motherfuckers, bro. I'm not gonna lie. These colonizers were unimportant and fucking lazy as fuck and ultra violent, bro. That's crazy. Like, people were already in America before white people even came here. And they really went there and said, yeah, let's just go there and off everybody and take this land for ourselves. That's really crazy when you think about it, bro.
Blackfeet Indians, who have lived in this region for generations. These tribes had begun working with British fur companies and now saw the American presence in the area as bad for business. Colter could not help but notice the demand for beaver pelts was skyrocketing, and so, in 1806, 2 months before the official end of the expedition, he asked to be honorably discharged, and he chose to stay out in the wilderness to try to strike it rich. But John was soon given a lesson on just how much the local tribes did not appreciate American fur trappers on their turf. In 1808, the Blackfeet had ambushed him and shot an arrow in his leg. Had the Flathead and Crow Indians he was traveling with not chased them away, he would have been dead. Now well aware that the Blackfeet did not want them around, the duo were doing everything they could to avoid...
And they're alone? Bro, if a nigga shot me in my knee, right? And I managed to live, right? Why the fuck would I still be in the wilderness? In their hood. Why would I still be in their hood when they are my ops, bro? I am their ops. We're beefing. Why am I still in the hood with them, bro? Like, he's actually in the woods right now, trying to take more beaver pelts. Nigga, leave them alone. What the fuck is wrong with you? And the thing is, right? He got shot in the knee. The nigga in the yellow got shot in the knee already. The nigga in the blue was just there, right? And it's like, bro, where's everybody else? Why is it only y'all two? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Avoid them at all costs. Colter and Potts continued rowing in silence, hoping they could pass through unnoticed. But as they turned the corner, a cold shiver ran down their spine as hundreds of Blackfeet warriors began stepping out of the forest and onto the riverbank.
Yeah, you're fucked,
The natives
bro.
don't seem to be very interested in doing business, and they gesture for the men to come to them. Colter knows they don't have a lot of options here, so he nervously brings the canoe to shore. The instant he steps onto land, the Blackfeet strip him naked and take his rifle, knife, and gear. As he watches Colter being stripped bare, Potts begins to imagine the horrific things the Blackfeet have in store for them, and he refuses to get off the canoe. The warriors begin to lose their patience, and one of them shoots an arrow into him for his stubbornness. Potts, now bleeding, panics and grabs his rifle. He fires at one of the warriors, and instantly the Blackfeet return a storm of arrows that turn his body into a pincushion.
Bro, what did you think was gonna happen? What did you think was gonna happen? I do not feel bad for him. One, you're not supposed to be on their land. That's one. 2, you know that you have beef with these niggas. Why would you go there and even be here in the first place? And why would you shoot them after they tell you to come off the boat? They shot you an arrow, non-fatally, mind you. Then he went there, shot one of them and killed them. And then now you're fucking filled up with arrows, bro. What's wrong with you?
Coulter can do nothing but stand there and watch as Potts is dragged ashore and hacked to pieces.
Oh, wow.
He assumes he's next. But instead, the chief unexpectedly points to the open prairie and tells him to run. Coulter couldn't believe what was happening. He was being spared. And so he takes off, sprinting butt naked as fast as he could. He gets a few hundred yards away when suddenly, war cries echo out in the distance behind him, and it dawns on him that he had not been set free after all. He was simply given a head start.
Wow.
This was a hunt, and he was their prey.
You better run,
Naked, alone, and now running for his life, Coulter sprints ahead. He knows that about 6 miles away is the Madison River. If he can just make it there, he may have a chance of getting away. Every step drives sharp rocks into his bare feet, and his legs are ripped up by shrubs. But Coulter pushes himself harder than he ever has before. His lungs burning, he keeps running until his vision starts to blur and blood begins pouring from his nose from the sheer strain. After traveling what felt like a few miles, he stops to try to catch his breath and turns to see if he had lost the Indians. To his horror, one warrior had caught up and found him and was now just 20 yards away. Exhausted and knowing he can't outrun the man, he quickly turns to fight. The Indian, who is running at a full clip towards Coulter, is startled when the naked white man suddenly whips around and aggressively raises his arms towards him. He stumbles to the ground and breaks his spear. On instinct, Coulter rushes over, grabs the broken spear, and drives it into the warrior, killing him. The frontiersman takes a blanket the young Blackfoot was carrying, and as a group of warriors draws near, he takes off running again. He reaches the river, bleeding from his feet and nose, barely able to stand. He can hear the natives getting closer behind him. His legs are completely dead, and he begins desperately searching for somewhere to hide. As the voices of the warriors grow louder and louder, Coulter spots a beaver lodge and dives into the icy water. He swims beneath the lodge and finds a small pocket of air just big enough to keep his face above the surface.
Horrified beavers for real.
Alright, the beaver lodge was probably empty, but I thought it was funny. Anyways, when the Blackfeet arrive moments later, there is no sign of the naked white man they had been pursuing. They circle the area for hours, and Coulter does his best to remain perfectly still beneath the lodge as the freezing water numbs his entire body. After what seems like an eternity, night falls, and the sounds of the Blackfeet warriors fade into the distance. In near darkness, Coulter slips back into the river and swims a few miles downstream. He crawls ashore, shaking and half frozen, but he is alive. For the next 11 days...
Yo, though he a colonizer? This nigga got hard, bro. This nigga got hard. You know what I mean? This nigga got hard, bro. He ran away, right? Out of breath. Right? Ran away. Saw a nigga behind him. He broke his spear, right? Yeah. Attacked him type shit. Went there, jumped into the water, swam up, right? Into the fucking beaver den. Right? Like a fucking phoenix. Right? Hid there for all night and then got up to go look for somewhere to go hide while being injured? Honestly, he a colonizer. That's some cool shit, though. I'm not gonna lie. That's some cool shit. That's some cool ass shit. Not gonna lie.
With just the blanket he stole from the warrior, he keeps moving through harsh terrain, surviving on roots and berries. He forces his broken body more than 300 miles through mountains and valleys, until finally he reaches a trading fort on the Little Bighorn. As he stumbles in, he is nearly unrecognizable. He's thin, exhausted, and bleeding everywhere. But against all odds, he lived to tell the tale. Leonid Rogozov. It's September 1960, and a 26-year-old surgeon, Leonid Rogozov, steps off his ship and onto the frozen continent of Antarctica. A few months earlier, the Soviet Union had announced its 6th Antarctic expedition and was looking for a doctor willing to spend 2 years at the Novolazarevskaya station, one of the most remote research stations on Earth. Leonid had been studying to become a surgeon, but when he heard the news, he dropped everything and quickly applied to join the expedition. He's chosen and is assigned to join the 13-man research team as its sole doctor. As Leonid excitedly walks to the station, he can't believe how quickly his life has changed. But he's completely unaware that soon he would be fighting for his life with nothing but a scalpel and a mirror. By January 1961, the station is fully functional, and Leonid settles into his role as the only physician for the crew. For the first few months, everything is going according to plan, and luckily, the researchers...
Wait, my question is, right, if he's the only surgeon, how is he supposed to really do surgeries if he really needs to do a surgery? Because, yeah, he might not need to do it, but I think at least the 2 more assistants at least would have been better. Because now he's a surgeon, right? And he's in this Antarctic research facility, right? But it's like, what if someone breaks their leg or something, and they need him to put it back together or something, and let it heal? Is he gonna just do it by himself? Is one of these random niggas in the fucking station gonna help him? These are the important questions. He should have already sniffed this out before.
Seem pretty good at keeping themselves healthy in these extreme conditions.
Okay.
But on the morning of April 29th, Leonid wakes up and something is not right. He feels weak and nauseous. By midday, he's running a fever and a sharp stabbing pain has moved to his lower right abdomen.
Shit.
Leonid knows that this could be very bad. These are all hallmarks of appendicitis, something that can be life-threatening if not treated immediately. So, he starts taking antibiotics and presses ice against his abdomen. He's hoping the infection is minor and this will be all it takes to clear it up. But by the morning of April 30th, the pain is so bad he can barely move. His fever keeps climbing and he begins to vomit uncontrollably.
That's why I said, bro, if you had some more assistants or something that also helps him with his surgeries, they could have been there. They could have taken his appendix. They could have taken the appendix, bro. He would have still been alive. You know what I mean? I mean, well, apparently he lives through this somehow.
Controllably, the antibiotics were not enough. This infection had progressed to the point where the outlook was now very grim. His appendix could rupture, and if it did, he would only survive hours to days without proper treatment. The nearest Soviet research station with another doctor is over 1,000 miles away, and to make things even worse, a severe blizzard had rolled in, making it impossible for any planes to land at Novolazarevskaya to rescue him.
Fucked, bro.
The researchers at the station watch helplessly as their doctor's condition continues to worsen. There's nothing they can do, and they realize they may have to helplessly watch him die. Leonid stares at the ceiling of his small room, his mind running through all of his options. In the end, he decides surgery is the only thing that can save his life.
You want to take this shit out?
He is the only person who can do it.
He recruits
3 of his colleagues to help him as assistants, and he begins prepping himself for surgery. He orders one of the researchers to hold a mirror near his abdomen so he can see what he's doing during the surgery. He places another researcher near his tools so he can call for them as needed, and he gives the third man a shot of adrenaline and instructs the researcher to stand by and use it on him.
Yo, there's no way he's gonna do this shit. There's no way.
If he passes out.
At
2 a.m. on May 1st, Leonid not.
Bro, he's badass like that? He's like that? Bro, these random niggas ain't no shit about surgery, bro. And this badass nigga is gonna have to walk them through it on himself? That's crazy! That's crazy! No anesthesia either? Fuck! I mean, to be honest, you can't even use anesthesia, because, this boy might go into shock. He gotta be conscious doing this whole thing? Fuck!
To his assistants, adjusts himself into a half-sitting position, and injects himself with a local anesthetic. Looking at the mirror, he picks up a scalpel and makes a 4-inch cut on his right side. He continues to cut through layers of muscle and tissue, but he struggles using the mirror to see, and eventually begins working through touch alone. He can feel the warmth of his blood seeping out over his hands as he searches for his appendix. As he's working blindly in the hole he had cut into himself, he accidentally cuts his large intestine. Leonid quickly calls for sutures, and he's forced to sew it back together before he can continue to his appendix. 40 minutes have now passed, and his vision begins to blur. His head starts to spin and he becomes nauseous.
Shit.
He begins to take short 30-second breaks every 4 minutes to regain his focus, using all of his concentration to not black out mid-surgery. After almost an hour of cutting and feeling around his abdomen, Leonid finally locates his appendix. But at that exact moment, he feels his heart rate slow and his hands begin to lose sensation. He battles back through the brink of blacking out, grips his scalpel, and quickly removes his appendix. As he inspects it, he sees a dark stain at its base and deduces that if it was not removed, it would have burst within a day. He fights through the vertigo and nausea and sews himself back together. Nearly 2 hours after he had made the initial cut into himself, the surgery was completed, and Leonid, exhausted both mentally and physically, collapses on the table. Over the next few days, he continues to suffer from a high fever, and his colleagues worry that their doctor still won't make it. But on day 5, his fever finally breaks, and in 2 weeks, Leonid is back on his feet performing his—
Whoa, what? Nah! That's crazy! That's crazy! You telling me this guy had appendicitis, had one random dude go there, pull up a mirror, right? So he can cut into himself, so he can remove it himself? And he was conscious the whole time? That's crazy, bro. You gotta give him a medal or something just for that. He gotta be the best surgeon in history just for that, bro. There's no way. That's crazy, bro.
Regular duties.
That's
Operating
crazy.
on yourself and then continuing to do your job as if nothing had happened is, not gonna lie, kind of impressive. And I guess even the Soviet government thought so too, as Leonid was later awarded the Order of the Red Banner of Labor for his bravery and service to the Soviet state. Julian Kopka. It's December 24th, 1971, and 17-year-old Julian Kopka is sitting next to her mother as her plane takes off into the sky. A day earlier, Julianne had graduated from high school in Lima, and now she's finally going back home to spend Christmas with her dad. Her parents were world-renowned zoologists who were living at a research station they'd established deep in the Amazon rainforest. The original plan was for Julianne to return to the research station a few days earlier, but wanting to participate in her graduation ceremony, she convinced her mother to stay with her and fly back on Christmas Eve instead. But being Christmas, all the flights out of Lima were booked solid, and the only airline with available seats was LANSA, an airline with a poor reputation for safety. Julianne's father urged his wife not to book with LANSA, but thinking this was a short 1-hour flight, Julianne's mom booked the tickets, and they were now aboard LANSA Flight 508, heading home. Their plane climbs to cruising altitude, and everything seems fine. But roughly 30 minutes after takeoff, Julianne looks out the window and sees dark clouds and flashes of lightning surrounding them.
It's a storm.
The pilot had chosen to fly directly into a thunderstorm, and soon the entire aircraft began shaking violently.
Why would you fly into a thunderstorm?
And luggage is rattled out of the overhead bins. Passengers begin to scream with every bump as the plane moves more and more erratically. Julianne holds her mother's hand tightly, but both are unable to speak out of fear. Suddenly, the panic in the cabin is drowned out by a massive bang from outside. When Julianne looks back out the window again, she sees that the plane's right wing is on fire. Terrified, she looks to her mom, who looks back at her and calmly says, "That is the end. It's all over." The plane's engines scream louder and louder as it drops into a nosedive, and within seconds, it begins to tear itself apart mid-air. Passengers are flown into the open sky, and when Julianne opens her eyes, the cabin is gone. Wind is ripping past her as she falls towards the rainforest below, still strapped into her bench seat. As the tree line accelerates towards her, she passes out. When she opens her eyes, it's the next morning. She was unconscious while it happened, but the rainforest canopy and the airplane seats she was strapped into had broken her fall, just enough to keep her from dying on impact. Somehow, she is still alive. She immediately calls out for her mother, but nobody answers. As she tries to stand, her head begins to spin from a brutal concussion. She stumbles through the wreckage, desperately searching for other passengers, but she is completely alone. As she checks herself, she realizes her collarbone is broken. She also has a deep gash along her right arm, a badly wounded knee, and an injured eye. To make matters worse, she's lost her glasses, and being short-sighted meant she was now nearly blind to the dangers lurking around her in the rainforest. But there was one thing that Julianne had that perhaps no one else who may have survived the crash had. During the 18 months she lived with her parents in the Amazon before high
she was
school,
studying.
She learned the basics of how to survive in the jungle. She
Good,
remembered that the best chance of survival in a situation like this was to find a river, because if she followed it long enough, it would eventually lead her to people. As she moves through the scattered wreckage, she finds a bag of sweets. With that as her only food, Julianne pushes forward through the thick jungle. For days, she hobbled through the rainforest alone, the calls of the animals around her providing an eerie soundtrack to her hike of desperation. At night, the cold winds leave her shivering as she curls up in a bush to try to sleep.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I'm surviving this shit, dog. I'm not gonna lie. Yo, I don't think I'm surviving this shit, dog. Bro, legit, nigga like me, from I see I'm out the plane and I'm falling down into the rainforest, I'm unstrapping myself head first, gang. Head first. You would swear I think it's a track meet. Head first, gang. I promise you. Nigga, what? Bro, what? That's crazy. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, because, like, if you're a regular person and you didn't know that to follow the river is the best chance that you have, you'll be fucked, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're not surviving this shit, gang. Not me, though. Nigga like me? So, look, I go in head first just because I want to. But if I really wanted to survive, I could survive, bro. You know what I mean? All I gotta do, follow the river, and that's it, bro. Call it a day. I see, I have 20/20 vision. I was able to step up above her, bro. I'm like that. I'm joking. I would die instantly.
As the days pass,
somehow
the wound on her arm becomes infected, and botfly maggots start eating into her open flesh.
Ooh,
on the fourth day, she finds a stream and begins to follow it. As she turns a corner, she sees something that sends shivers down her spine.
A predator?
In front of her are 3 dead passengers from her flight, all still strapped to their seats with their heads buried into the ground. It's the first time Julianne had ever seen a dead body, and she is initially frozen in fear. She works up the courage to approach the bodies to check the woman, dreading the idea that this could be her mom, but finds that the corpse's toenails are painted, something her mother never did. Staring at the passengers, the last bits of hope she was holding onto begin to slip away. She gathers herself and forces onward. The sound of moving water grows louder, and the creek suddenly opens into a wide river. She knows that if she continues to walk along the river, she could maybe find her way out. But after 10 days of stumbling through the forest, she is reaching her limit.
10 days?
Her bag of sweets ran out days ago, and now she was so weak she could barely stand. Just as she is about to give up, she spots a small boat tied to the riverbank.
Ooh, that's nice.
Using the last of her energy, she makes her way to the boat. She notices a narrow path leading into the trees, and it takes her to a small hut. She's saved! But when she gets there, no one is there. By now, the maggots in her arm were nearly 1 inch long. She remembered something her father did for one of their pets in the past, and she finds a can of gasoline in the hut. She sucks the gas out of the can and spits it onto her wound. The pain is excruciating as the maggots try to burrow deeper into the wound to escape the fuel, but she is able to pluck 30 of them out of her arm. Exhausted, Julianne falls to the ground inside the hut and falls asleep. The next morning, she wakes to the sound of voices and runs outside. When the men see Julianne, they are terrified and initially think she's a half-dolphin water goddess. But speaking in Spanish, she explains to them what happened. She was on the flight that crashed, and she is all alone. They treat her wounds, feed her, and the next day bring her back to civilization. Julianne is soon reunited with her father and learns that her mother is still missing. Officials continue to search for her mother, but her body is eventually found in January. She had also survived the plane crash, but was too injured to move and died a few days after the incident in the jungle. Of the 92 people aboard LANSA Flight 508, Julianne was the only survivor, and, in fact, she's still alive today.
Oh, wow. W, bro. Huge W. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. In terms of which one do I think I live, I'm dying in the plane crash because she's lucky she not only lived, right, but lived and wasn't too injured to move, right? I think if I have the chance where if I survived the plane crash and was injured a little bit, let's say my arms or something, or whatever, I think I might live that one. I think I might live that one. But bro, the other one, I don't know. The guy with the Native Americans, bro, I might be fucked, bro. I mean, I'm in better shape, so yeah. The appendicitis one, I'm dying. Instantly, I'm dying, bro. Bro, if there isn't a doctor there, I'm fucked, bro. And then, like, I don't think I'm, like that to take out my appendix, bro. I don't think so. But, yeah, bro, that's the video. With that said, the Brow Shaman is out. Let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. With that said, I'm gonna catch y'all later, man. Peace.